Hello Internet, I'm the Disney Brain, and for the most part, the Disney live-action craze has proven consistently profitable while being largely inconsistent quality-wise, to the point where I'm almost tempted to grade these things on a curve. The Lion King looks pretty hideous aesthetically, Aladdin doesn't really work as well without the guy they literally wrote the best part for, and then there is Beauty and the Beast, a movie built on haphazardly addressing issues from the original that weren't really issues, and impressively made every character worse as a result. Maleficent, for all of its issues, is one of the few films they can continue to build a story around. Obvious wicked comparisons aside, it's the only one of these things that dared to be significantly different. Now, in spite of all that, I'm not here to say that the very concept of these remakes is inherently bad. Modernizing a story to meet and speak to the sensibilities of today is a fine idea, if done right. But while Disney's been feigning cleverness with its fourth-wall breaking self-roast writing, not so subtly implanted in several non-remake movies, I think they forgot about why so many of their older films worked so well, even beyond how animated sensibilities are hard to get across in a live-action setting. Getting to the topic at hand, Mulan is one of the few movies in this trend of retreads that actually inspires some hope in me. Now, I fully understand how limited the information is as of recording, and how we could very well end up with a much different movie than what's been advertised so far. But as per my point about how live action struggles to translate animated beats, the trailer already got the hardest part right. The trailer seems to be leaning into its live action nature, and not just making ugly versions of cartoon characters, something that is admittedly a bit easier to do with this film compared to Meme Genie because there's practically unlimited material from which to draw inspiration from. But even beyond that, I have a good feeling about this film, for now, I have to stress, because they aren't really remaking the 1998 animated film that I consider the best 2D movie Disney has ever made, if not simply the best. What they seem to really be doing, and the trailer really speaks to this, is more directly adapting the actual original source material, Ballad of Hua Mulan. You see, the major change Disney made, and made work, in their 90s film is characterizing Mulan as an out-of-the-box thinker/klutz that has no real fighting experience. As such, her sole motivation for risking her life and learning to fight is to combat a silly enlistment rule to save her father's life. This created a movie where a lot of Mulan's signature scenes were out-of-the-box ones that spoke to her embracing herself as well as the lessons of her training, and the animation does well to highlight that entire rise with the necessary bumps on the road. But in the original tale, Mulan was already a fairly skilled fighter, so instead of Disney having to clumsily recreate her initial bumbling in live action, which, if you've seen any movie Yufei Lu's been in, would not work to her strengths anyway, they decided to lean into the strengths of live action, making this movie more akin to a revitalized version of the other live action Mulan that most people in the West never saw. Adding to that, so many of the actors they hired are well cast for the roles they have, very much including Yufei Lu herself. Weirdos like me who have watched obscure Chinese films like The Four as well as actually like The Forbidden Kingdom, where she also worked with Jet Li, can speak to what she brings as an actress. And touching once again on that other live-action Mulan film, Yufei was in the running for the lead role there too. So it's not overselling it to say that she not only really wanted this, but was made for this. And also made for the tone that this movie seems to be selling itself on. We'll still have to see how married they are to said tone once they introduce maybe Phoenix Mushu and the Cricket, but seeing as how this film doesn't even plan on being a musical, they might just hold on to it, barring terrible test screenings, and I don't think that particular change is at all a bad one either. And given everything we've discussed about this movie being more in line with the OG Mulan as opposed to Disney Princess Mulan, the very narratively important Reflection, for example, might not make as much sense shoved into this version, at least not as a sing-along type deal. And Be a Man would be even less practical, because as a full-body experience, that song works a lot better through bumbling Mulan than the sharp-as-a-knife, ice-cold stare Mulan we have here. Both of those songs are ones folks like me love, and it's a bold move to potentially only include them as pieces of the score, especially since the soundtrack and songs might still net Disney a few bucks even if the movie ends up being as disposable as Dumbo was. But from a filmmaking standpoint, I can understand the valid reasons they might have thought through before ultimately coming to this decision. Again, this is very tentative right now, but I do hope they stick to their guns on this one. All in all, I really like the Mulan trailer we got. The action looks pretty solid, the aesthetics are immediately better than almost anything Disney's put out recently, and I've been a Yufei Liu fan for a while now, so I have faith in her ability to handle this part, even with way more eyes on her now than ever before. So far so good, but the one thing that has me slightly concerned is the direction. I don't really care that Nikki Caro isn't Asian, so let's dismiss that right away. If this movie ends up lacking authenticity, it certainly won't be her fault. What I care about is that she was reportedly the third choice for this film, the first choice being Ang Lee, the obvious and probably safest choice, who couldn't commit to this project because of prior engagements. So she's a bit more of a wild card in terms of what she'll bring to the production, or how her vision will ultimately shape the final cut. But she's made Disney films before, so I assume they trust her at least. In closing, the hopeful part of me feels like the moves Disney is making here represent them slowly learning from their current run and being willing to make a whole lot of changes that might not jive with people. And I'm fully behind that mindset, because Mulan will make bank globally whether it's good or not, so why not throw a few ideas on the wall and see what sticks? So assuming anything I just said is still relevant come March, I hope the movie succeeds on that merit alone. Because this really does feel like the freshest take on this tired movie-making formula. But we'll just have to wait and see if taking that plunge ends up paying off. And until then, thanks for watching.